So welcome again to this weekly reward system dev sync on the new time. I shared the agenda. You have it in the calendar invite if you would like to bring up the document as well. So this has been a week with quite a lot of activity, I'd say, both on the backend and front-end development within the Sourcred bots and the rewards committee, I think, and lots of interesting stuff happening. So we'll get started right away with the status updates. And then I know, for instance, that ViViV would like to stop. We have a discussion item about the bots. So let's spend some time there, and we'll see what else pops up. So we'll start with the praise backend, and I'll speak for Rudolf because he is not here and he's not comfortable with English anyway. So he has we have talked about before what's happened, so one of the things that we have done for the last week with the backend development is that we have on the Miro board put up the data model is set now, and we filled the data model with some real or some dummy data. We made an Airtable database, filled it with some dummy data, and just made sure that everything connects. So praise periods, quantifiers for each period, users, which are mostly then connected to Ethereum addresses, and then of course to Telegram and Discord tags and IDs. Those users have roles. They can play the role of admin, user, or quantifier, and most probably we will also have a praise giver role. What happened now? My mouse stopped cooperating. So, yeah, quantified praise, of course. So that's it. An overview. So if anyone would like to know more about the data model and to learn, for instance, what the API returns, etc., you have some examples there. What else have been happening in the with the back-end development? Yeah, a number of endpoints have been added. Period creating and renaming has been added to the API. There's a new endpoint for, let me see if I can bring this in. It's interesting. For period quantification. Maybe I turned off the server. Sorry, one second. Yeah. I'm starting this my local server again. So there you should be able to see Rudolf has made this really cool integration with Swagger, which produces documentation for the backend API as he is coding. So it's like the backend is really well documented from day one. And one of the more substantial endpoints he has been adding the last week is the period quantification info. So basically, you pull up a quantification period, and there you get all the data connected to that period. You get all the praises, of course, and you get a list of the quantifiers, and then you also get the quantified praises for each praise. So I'd say I'd estimate like maybe 40% of the backend work is done. I think that is. It depends on how much it turns out to be with writing the actual bots, but I think that's a fairly conservative estimate. And then, so that's all I had to say about the back end. And for the front end, I think I will have the have the task of talking for the front end developers as well. But super fun. The two new persons have appeared and started contributing right away. So Girayal and Hruday, I cannot recall their real names just now. And I have a short recap of what Girayal, what he has been doing. Let me find that. So he has been implementing some a testing library for us to be able to do end-to-end testing for the front end, which is really cool. I'm not sure how much we will be able to have time to implement it for the MVP version, but any serious project should have end-to-end testing, even for the front end, for the long term at least. And he has. He is working. I can show you where he is working. He is working on. He has taken on one of the more important screens, which are the praise period detail screen, where you open up a period and you should be able to rename that, and you should list all the quantifiers and show a quantification summary. That's what he's working on. And he has already posted a few commits, so he's up and running. And the other guy, Hruday, he is currently looking at the other most important screen, which is the actual quantification screen. And there we think that we will do sliders instead of these number buttons that I previously showed you for. Last week, but we are moving ahead according to schedule. I'll pass it to Vivavi for the Sourcred bots. Vivavi, are you there? Maybe he's doing Diwali preparations in the background.
There may be some issues. You broke off for me like a minute ago and just returned like right now. So maybe he's also having issues and isn't hearing us.
Okay, but let's skip Vivavi for now and get back to him and move on to the rewards committee instead. And then, yeah.
So I chatted with Matteo, and then he said he was on vacation, so I just drafted this to-do list of things we need to share my screen. So we need this 5 steps completed. I just posted in the chat the people I'm nominating for this role. And actually, like drafting all of the responsibilities, I felt like 5 people would be too little because it's like a consistent amount of work. So I suggested around 10 people, hoping that 7 will say yes for it, and with the incentive that this will be a paid role. So here are the responsibilities we're asking from the committee members, and the second step after everyone says yes and we have the group prepared, then it would be picking the parameters for Sourcred and understanding them in relation to the praise like data we already have. So what types of things have been praised, what types of contributions have not been addressed, and then trying to get those into Sourcred, and then set up a call with everyone to discuss how to move forward with this next steps and who would like to be more responsible for one role or another.
Yeah, cool. And which people did you nominate?
I was just writing now my strategy for thinking about the people, but let me get in there. So I suggested Mateo, you, Christopher, Mitch, Chewy, Vivi, Aloysius, Nugget, myself, and Ryder. I also wanted to suggest YGG, but maybe he has too much on his plate. He hasn't been answering to the messages here so much. I'll still put his name here and try to reach out to him. But I think it would be great to have people that are technical, people that are cultural, people that know how to code and execute things, and people from Sourcred and people from the data side, so that I try to be like comprehensive on those terms with that group.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely think we should have people from Sourcred on board, because the configuration of the Sourcred instance, we should not underestimate not the complexity of it, but it takes some experience to know how to set the parameters to get a good distribution, I think.
Yeah, both Aloysius and Ryder are from Sourcred, so hopefully they would both be down for it, but if we have one of them would already be great.
Mm. Yeah, so sorry, I realized that when we were talking about the backend, if we are maybe should we move on, or would you like to bring up some discussion about something or this?
No, I should just wait to respond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and the next step would be for us to meet. I say yes from for myself. Yeah. I realized that when we were talking about the backend, Nagan, I forgot to pass it to you. Could we hop back there and give some status?
No problem. First of all, I'd also love to join, so count me in too with this. And yeah, about the backend, I've talked also you to Kristen already to you. I've been working with the bots and the unit tests, and it's been kind of I haven't really made that much progress. I feel like I'm struggling more with the framework than with the task in itself. So yeah, I'll see until the end of the week if I kind of manage to get up to speed, and if not, maybe just kind of reassess if maybe I can be more useful somewhere else, or something like that. Because I mean, Rudolf has been very helpful in this killing it by himself, but I'm not really supporting a lot right now. So yeah, so that. On the other hand, I talked with MS, and we're going to meet beginning of next week for this last point that you wanted to probably introduce right now with the distribution and analysis stuff. So
yeah. So let's jump over to that point then. So while waiting for YYV to reappear as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a bit to him. He's kind of busy right now. He's in New York. But yeah, we're gonna meet in the beginning of next week and kind of plan it out or kind of see how we want to do it.
Yeah. No, and I'm happy that he wants to be a part of this latter half of the process and pushing that work forward. So because he's really keen on learning more about Jupyter and Python development and analysis and so on. So what I've been talking to him about is that he initiates that work and do it together with you, Nagan, and also with Octopus, probably mostly as an advisor, I'd guess, depending on how much time he has, and YGG if time permits. And I think I showed you last time what the general idea was, to sort of package everything together in one Jupyter notebook but MS. So the general plan is what is up next. There is for you to meet and hopefully maybe Octopus can be a part of that conversation as well from early on, and then to get started and to take some dummy data and to start with that, do a test distribution based on dummy data and do some test analysis based on that data as well. It's not super complicated, this step, but it's a few things that needs to be connected and done, and it's really vital. And I think it can turn out to be a really good thing for the whole reward system. But MS, as you pointed out, he's in New York on a conference, so he couldn't join us today. But I hope we'll see him next time. And now YYV, he disappeared.
Yeah, probably was having connection issues or something.
Yeah. But I had a meeting with him earlier today, so I can get started. I can tell you about where he's at with the meeting tracker bot. And he says that the meeting tracker bot is almost, that is, it is basically finished. But we need to do some testing. And he is going to set it up for so we can use it on his test server before we implement it. And if I've interpreted everything correctly, there's nothing blocking us from implementing it whenever it is done. Would you all agree to that? We don't have to wait for the Commons upgrade, etc. So once we have the meeting tracker bot, we just and we know that it works fine. We'll start it and then we'll instruct everyone that now from this day forward we don't praise meeting attendance anymore, but instead so there's one. Or there are two things to decide on or to discuss when it comes to the meeting tracker bot. And the first one is how big part of the meeting do you need? If you only attend like 10% of the meeting time, will your attendance be tracked as you have attended the meeting? No. 50% probably, maybe.
Can the 60%. Can the bot track the time and count like a percentage?
Yep. So we have options here, and either we set a fixed number from the start. We decide upon a number like 60%, and that's it. And then we go with that, or we say we don't know, and then YYV would have to make that a configurable parameter that we can change over time. But of course, we can always upgrade the bot, and the bot is not in itself like a huge piece of code. So even if we, set it as a fixed number, then if in 2 months, if that was the wrong number, we just make a new version of the bot, and that's that. I think we suggested 60%, or if it was Aloysius also, it definitely should be more than 50% of the meeting time. My intuition says. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I agree with 60% also.
Sorry?
I totally agree with 60% at least. And I think it would be good to have a fixed parameter. Just not that everybody can make an input, but just have the same for every meeting in all the TEC. I think that's easier and simpler.
Yeah.
Just a question on, so you get tracked if you stay at least 60% of the meeting time, but then if you stay 100% of the time or 65%, do you have, or it's just one flat value for everyone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Same as now. So attend a meeting or not. It's a 1 or 0. Yeah, and the second thing is the meeting tracker needs to be manually started, because there is no easily accessible single source of truth for which meetings take place and which are important to track. And I think Griff said a few calls back, even meetings outside of the calendar are potentially important to track. So it's we cannot rely only on the official calendar. So that is a question: is that an acceptable requirement to say to all the facilitators, for you to track meeting attendance, you have to send a message to the bot saying, start tracking meeting attendance and track it for 60 minutes if the meeting is 6 minutes. Or do we expect people not to use it?
I think that knowing the timing requirement might be a little bit difficult, because maybe some meetings go long or some meetings end early, and people just stay in not knowing, not trying to scam or anything, just they walked away from their computer and forgot to close the Discord window or whatever. So the time part is difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. I didn't think about the meeting cutting short.
Sorry. Maybe just have a comment to start and to stop, like the Groovy bot. So the person who makes the call starts it and can stop it when the call is done.
Yeah.
Should they also add an input that says this is what the call is about or something like that? The name of the call or something?
I guess that the output of the meeting tracker bot is a Discord message mentioning all those who attended, when reading that message, I guess it would be good to inform the community about what is happening, and to have some sort of description there. That information is not used by Sourcred in the end.
I think it should be fine to just keep it going with the calendar. I think it's a good practice for people who are hosting meetings to always put in the calendar, and then the calendar is an easy way that everyone can follow what's happening. And if something escaped the calendar, but there was an interesting contribution during that call, then maybe the praise can be more qualitative to that contribution specific.
Totally. I definitely think we should praise contributions to calls, not just the attendance, right? Someone brings in this awesome thing into the call and it's like, oh my God, this is great. Praise them, or someone led the call and made the agenda. Praise them, But Just attendance is a different thing. I have to run, unfortunately. Thank you all. So cool to see this call in action. It's been a while. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
One thing that I think it is also good about what Livia said with the calendar is that I think maybe if we just let anybody start a meeting at any time, it is a lot more open to abuse. Like, so somebody goes in at 3 a.m, starts a meeting with himself, and then just takes the hour. So if you go through the calendar to verify, that would make it also easier.
So one might say that you also lean towards trying to use the calendar as the single source of truth. Like, these are the meetings that we would like to track. That, because I agree, if we don't have a list like that, then how do we decide what meetings are worth tracking? I guess like personal one-to-ones it will not be tracked, and maybe we can also set a limit. Like, for instance, there has to be at least 3 participants, because otherwise it's one-to-one, and we don't track those. So I'd say that let's do that. But I agree, it seems reasonable to have some sort of structure about what to track.
The only thing against the people limit is that, for example, now it has been happening a lot that some of the param parties don't have anyone attending, but then the host who is committed to that is there for the whole hour by themselves, just waiting if people are going to show up. And I think that person should be rewarded for that.
Yeah, maybe if we rely on the calendar, we can remove that requirement, because there's a sort of a threshold. You don't put whatever into the calendar. You won't put a fake meeting into the calendar just to track it. So it seems like all are in favor of that. I don't know how technically difficult that is. I know that I have an Android phone without a Google account on it, and I know there's quite a lot of headaches just getting access to my calendar. So maybe it's not a simple thing, unfortunately, if the calendar lives on Google. I don't know. Mitch, did you have any input, or did you just want to show your make us jealous about your backdrop?
Neither nor, but yeah, I dropped in super late because I've been having call conflicts all day. So, so what I hear is that we want to change some of the scope from tracking meetings to be worth a bit less for attendance and allow praising for what people did inside of meetings. Is that what I caught?
And I don't think not necessarily less for tracking meetings than compared to now. We haven't talked about that. Okay. Maybe praising contributions within meetings would be in addition to tracking meeting attendance.
Seems valid. And is there anything particular to debate about besides that?
No, I think we agreed on setting 60%, that you have to be there for 60% of the time for your attendance to be tracked, and it seems like all are in favor of trying to use the calendar as the single source of truth and not let any meeting be tracked. So I'll take that back to YYV, and so then the meeting tracker bot is not finished, because it was finished, but then it would require manual starting and stopping. And then we have another big topic when it comes to Sourcred bots, and that's Twitter bots. And there we have a few options. I'd say I've discussed 3 different options with Vive using the Orbit service that tracks sort of like a social score for interactions with over a number of social platforms. So that is cool for that reason, because it could potentially track activity on lots of other platforms as well. But then that doesn't integrate with Discord, and it doesn't integrate with Sourcred at all. So we would need to find a way to translate that score, which is generated, into something that is useful for our needs, and to write a Sourcred plugin from scratch. YYV, are you here? Oh, I'll continue talking about what we discussed today then. So, and then we looked at also. Sorry, yeah.
Could we use the data from Orbit to input into the data analysis process?
Sorry, can we use data from Orbit
to provide like more insights to like basically other data sources to the data analysis?
And not use it for Sourcred cred and grain?
Not use it for quantification or nothing like that, but just it's such a rich data that Orbit gives that just because it's not attached to a system already, it could still be used during the analysis, and that would help us to set the Sourcred parameters accordingly.
Yeah, I guess that it would be an interesting thing to explore. I'll that would have to be part of the allocation distribution stream then, to have a look at can the data from Orbit be integrated into the analysis step and used in some useful some way to inform our decisions. Yes.
I think it would be in any case very useful while we are iterating to kind of have it as a different data input, just to maybe have some insights, even if it doesn't get directly implemented into the Sourcred and so.
Hi. I'm sorry I didn't get anything that happened before this, because I've been having connection issues and I've been ghosting for a while. So it was just like entering exit of some sort. So I didn't hear anything.
We have discussed the meeting tracker bot, and I think we are mostly done, unless you would like to rug pull the discussion and say that, for instance, what we have come up with is not possible. So we agree that 60% meeting attendance is a reasonable threshold to start with for tracking your attendance. And then we also said that we would like to try to rely on the calendar for meeting tracking. And we don't know if that is possible at all, to use the calendar data. And those are the meetings we track.
Yeah, that can be done. Right, that sounds good to me.
Sorry. And yeah, and what else did we say? That in addition to meeting attendance, we should try to start a tradition of appraising contributions within meetings, in addition to tracking meeting attendance. So, for instance, if someone did a great job writing the agenda or brought some really interesting stuff to the meeting, praise that. And then we were discussing the Twitter. We moved on to the Twitter bot and discussed Orbit, and said that even if we don't move forward with trying to use the orbit score as a Sourcred input, we can maybe use the orbit score as an interesting data point for the post quantification analysis.
That sounds interesting.
So maybe we should just set up an orbit account for the TEC. I don't know. Does it cost anything?
It doesn't cost anything as far as we don't have more than 10,000 members engaged in that pool.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be manageable, and I'm not sure, but maybe Chris already has one set up. I'm not 100% sure if that was like Chris's personal orbit or that's something for the TC, because there's an API key on the forum for orbit.
Mm-hmm.
We had one. We had one for the common stack, and it's just tracking engagement in the common stack. So I think it would be great to make a new one.
All right then. So do we want to track only data from Twitter and data from GitHub, or do we also want to track data from the Discord and other places?
Why would we want to limit our tracking when we have this cool system?
Yeah, that's true. Like if we only wanted this for Twitter data, then we'd have to limit it.
Yeah. And we just assume that Orbit has some sort of export functionality.
They have an API. I think they also have webhooks.
So, YYV, will you set up an account, or does someone else want to take this on?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
And it feels like the most if we move on from Orbit, then we need, if we want to track Twitter reposts, mentions, etc. We either we build a plugin for Sourcred somehow, or we make sure that the information gets into Discord, and that the user that sent the message gets mentioned and their Discord handle, and I guess there also has to be some sort of interaction, maybe with the message for it to be easily counted in Sourcred. And that is doable. Sorry, maybe I'll let you talk about this, Vaivavi. That was the plan.
So if we're talking about like having this as a post analysis comparison thing, I think it would make sense to just log this into a data frame or something, so that we can analyze this with Sourcred data instead of putting this into Sourcred. If we're using this inside Sourcred, then we put it, or like we make a new Sourcred instance that and we stream this data into that and then see how it performs. But I think that's
so sorry, are you still in Orbit?
Yeah, I'm talking about Orbit.
Yeah. So sorry, I moved on to the actual Twitter activity tracking bot.
Oh, sorry. So for Twitter tracking, there's multiple ways to do that. But like we essentially it boils down to having a way to link people's Twitter with their either their source code identity or with their Discord identity, whichever one's more feasible. So if we're using like associating with their source code identity, we'll take source code and make a new user account based on their Twitter handle, and then if Matteo is merging them manually or automatically, all them merge into one source code profile. Or the other way around is that we make a database of people's Twitter and their Discord usernames, and whenever it tracks something, it mentions the person that sent that tweet. It like parses out whoever's sending and then makes it a mention based on like what data we have. If we don't have any data, we just see if we can DM them, and we DM them or whatever is feasible in the scenario.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a messy process, but there is no way around it. It is messy because it's messy, and now we have only tried Sourcred and made this dry run or this test distribution, and when we implement it for everyone, it will turn out that everyone needs to connect their sort of verify their accounts, like for 4 different accounts for Sourcred, GitHub, Discourse, Twitter, and Discord maybe. Yeah, for the meeting. No, not necessarily then. Yeah, for the meeting tracking. Yeah. So they have to get 4 different user accounts into Sourcred connected to their physical identity that is represented within Sourcred. And then for Praise, they need to do the same process for Telegram and for Discord again. So basically, for a new DAO member to be able to receive praise from all sources would have to do 6 separate user account verification actions to get going, or Matteo would have to do it for the person or something. But it's this is a thing that we need to consider, like how.
So I think that would be too much pressure on Matteo. If we like have 2-3 people that could do that, and like that's something that like we allocate our rewards to our budget to people that are merging identities. Like from what I know, over at One Hive, Sandpiper used to do it, and it was a lot of work. And we like had to like we made a channel for people where they could like just send all of their accounts, details of all of their accounts, and we didn't verify any of that. We just trusted them on their word, which is an issue. So I think an ideal way would be to like automate data entry somehow and somehow stream this data to both these systems. I think like if in the Praise backend, if we can set up an API where like we can have this Twitter data and maybe the Ethereum address data directly sent over from the data we make for Sourcred.
Yeah, let me
Then
show
they
you.
just need to like open that page and log in with like MetaMask.
Yeah, and that's the 7th thing then. Not only do you need to connect your physical identity to all these 6 different accounts, you also need to connect an Ethereum address to those. So that's the 7th verification, or yeah. And you should ideally be able to change everything also. Like I have changed my Discord handle, or I would like to switch Ethereum address.
So since like the data needed for Praise is relatively less, it's just 2 accounts. Can the backend accommodate like an API which like streams this data into whatever database we're using?
Yeah, let me show you.
Then they just need to like open that page and log in with like MetaMask.
Yeah, and that's the 7th thing then.
whatever database we're using. I'm not sure what sort of authentication we're using, but could we like set up user accounts automatically?
For praise?
Yeah, for praise, like we have one store of data that's collected from their Discord or from a web page, and all of that goes to Sourcred and then goes to praise.
Yeah.
Putting that in Sourcred is not very complicated. I think there's like an API or a method that with which you can do that, but putting it into praise would need some work.
Yes, since we're developing praise from scratch, everything is possible. What we would not like to do is to integrate, having to integrate praise with Sourcred, for instance, because then the idea of praise being a standalone open source system fails. If you need to have a like an identity server in the background.
Yeah, so what I'm suggesting is that like we keep praise like it is. We just add an extra functionality on top. It's like you can create user accounts using an API.
Yeah.
So whoever goes to the site, they can log into the site manually, and if they're using our automation, the praise account identity gets created for them automatically.
Yeah. And that in itself is a super interesting thing, because that means that praise would need to have some sort of plugin architecture that allows you can verify your account with the praise system directly, or you can write some sort of user profile plugin that integrates with our Sourcred identity profile server.
Wow, this like quickly blew my mind now that we could actually use praise as an identity verification system. Like
the opposite way, the other way around.
Oh, because I thought that we actually could, because it's a lot of people praising your existence, basically. It's like, if you contributed with something, you exist, and you are here connected with this and this and this person. Maybe kind of like Bright ID has a verification system that many people need to be connected to you. You could have a threshold of like, if like 10 people who are verified praised you, then you become a verified person.
Yeah. I think that that system of profiles and identities and authentication, that is way bigger than praise is. But yes, the information coming from praise is super important. Like on the Gitcoin, on your Gitcoin profiles, you get sort of verified. You get a Bright ID verification. You can get other types of verifications, and then of course praise verification could be quite a strong verification for a user identity. So the information from praise could be used in an identity system for verifying profiles, for instance. But do you see the picture on my screen? This is something that was posted on Twitter today from Metagame, which sounds a lot like what we discussed today, Evaivavi. A social layer on online communities, DAOs, and virtual cloud cities, sort of where you can bring your profile, and that information can help. You can get onboarded onto DAOs, and different DAOs can use the same source of profile information, etc. Of course, this is my guess is that this project isn't even started. But there's definitely a huge need for some sort of centralized, decentralized identity and profile storage function. And I don't think we should develop it ourselves right now. But we need to figure out some okay way of handling all this, because having 1 or 2 or 5 persons having to manage to try to connect every new users with 5 different accounts will be an headache.
I think this My Meta has been in development for a while already. I think we went to a community call a couple of months ago and kind of showed us the first picture of the dashboard, and so we've been working on it for a while. In any case, yeah, I think, but well, maybe Vivavi knows a bit more there. In any case, I think it's a very big stuff. But we'll have to get to it in some way or another, like integrate with something or see if we can. I think there was a project doing some kind of cost of forgeability, which kind of was doing like taking a bit of information from different sources to kind of create some decentralized profile, which is hard to fake. So maybe we could look into that in the future to kind of feed the praise data into there or something.
Is it possible to have the people's addresses in the backend of could it be possible to attach a Discord identity with an address, and that should match the discourse, like having an address type of login kind of thing? Because that would also be good for CBO attacks once the bonding curve is open. That like all your interactions with the TEC need to come from the same address.
It's super simple, and most of those platforms, they also provide the open authentication API as you described today. So basically, we could develop without too much of a hassle a standalone web page where the first thing you need to do is to log in with your MetaMask and your Ethereum address. And once you have logged in with your Ethereum address, then a row of login buttons appear. Login with Google, login with Facebook, but instead it says login with Discord, login with Twitter, etc. And this website, this service integrates with their open authentication mechanisms that most of these platforms we are talking about already is using. So once you have verified the Ethereum address and you log in with your Twitter account, boom, those are linked, and the same for the other accounts. So basically, you just log in at each service one at a time, and that's it. Maybe that is what we should try to do as a not like a new big project, but more of like something for just for the TEC, which would then be like also the TEC member profile. It would be weird not to allow the user maybe to enter their name or email, have some sort of form there as well. So then it becomes the TEC members registry, basically. I don't know.
Yeah, that already is kind of with 3box, right? But I think on 3box you have to put a name, and that maybe I like the option of being unknown. But if we could tie everything to one identity, even though we don't know who they are, it could be interesting.
Yeah, but the purpose with this thing would also be to connect this unknown identity with the most very much known official your outward-facing social media accounts. But those could, of course, be under alias as well.
So for the social medias, I think we can probably just automate or like encrypt their IDs, and like only our like project knows, and only our project can decrypt those IDs, and no one has access to the project ID, or I'm not sure, like maybe some form of unreversible function that we could make, and like we write a plugin for Sourcred where it matches, like first encrypts your username and then checks it against the database and then logs it, or
Yeah.
something of the sort. But yeah, we could do interesting things with like encrypting people's usernames, and like most probably if we're making a good application, we won't be storing people's usernames in plain text. We'll most probably be encrypting their usernames, so no one at one moment would have access to see, like, connect people's Ethereum addresses with their Twitter account, or for example, or something
Yeah.
else.
Let's explore this further. I think we need to find some kind of solution for this. I actually haven't thought about this before today, like the actual amount of work it will be onboarding a few hundred people with 7 accounts per person, etc.
So we were talking about my Meta, right? So Meta Game has been working on the project for like a very long time. I think that was initially their plan, but they were in the start they were making this project only for Metagame. So Metagame was supposed to be like a place where you can make your own guild, which is like your own group, and then you say like we're collectively working on something. And I think Metagame distributes cred based on like if you're a part of the group, or I'm not exactly sure how they distribute cred. Do they distribute it to like the sub guilds or not? But it creates up your profile for everyone in Metagame. I think recently their discussions have been on monetizing my Meta, because they already made the platform and they put a lot of work into it. So they're probably making a version where DAOs could fork their my Meta, or like get their own private API or webhooks of sorts. So we can maybe talk with them, because it does look like they at the moment have a really good profiling system where you can link your GitHub, Discord, Twitter, Ethereum address, and all of the things that you need to link. And you could also have like skills and memberships, etc., set up there. So that's data we can use for the TEC. Maybe we could set up a guild, because I do know like the token engineering group has a guild over there. So we could maybe talk with them and see if we are interested in making something of the sort, or do we want to make our own system?
Yeah, I definitely think we should reach out to them, and also to do like an open idea session on this topic, just separate from everything else within the reward system, and do that in a week or so, and try, maybe if we all can try to look around a bit, think about this subject, and if we have time, do some research into whatever possible solutions could there be, and then we'll try to get a hold of Metagame, and we'll try to set up an idea session and take it from there, because now we are out of time for this session, and we got to the end of the agenda as well. This was the last item. So thank you all for coming, and see you next time, or most likely before that.
Thank you.